What's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again from metaltrenches.com. As always, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you enjoy it, follow us on the social media of your choice, and hop down to the description. Consider supporting us on Patreon or Subscribestar. Makes a big difference. But today is time to review the new album from American metalcore band As I Lay Dying, Shaped by Fire. And some people are going to ask me potentially, why am I reviewing this album? And it really just comes down to, you got to understand, like, this is a band that means a lot to my teenage years and college years, especially. Like, I've got a lot of history and a lot of memories that are just so inextricably tied to their music. And so what it really just comes down to me is that very personal level thing. I have a lot of deep associations between the music and very specific periods and moments in my life, some great, some not so great, but all of which kind of shaped me. So it's kind of cool to reconnect with that and now see how this music hits me in this very different stage of my life, and obviously very different stages of the lives of the members of the band as well. Man, I am a longtime fan of these guys. Like, I bought this exact copy that I'm holding at a Hot Topic like the week this album came out. And I still remember to this day, I got this and This Is Love, This Is Murderous by Bleeding Through. So lots of just deep feels for me in terms of that. And since then, I have picked up every album. So again, if you want to see how I rank them, spoiler alert, this is the best album right here, An Ocean Between Us. Best thing they've ever done. But yeah, everything they've done has been just really strong. So jumping straight to the music, I gotta say, Blinded is just a killer way to kick off the album. That opening riff, I feel like I stepped backwards and slipped and fell back in 2007. It's like they were never gone in a strange way, like right down to the choice of distortion and just the riff itself. It could have easily been on An Ocean Between Us or even one of their earlier albums. And those riffs continue, like that persists. I was kind of wondering if that was just going to be sort of an opening thing, but no, you've got Undertow and Torn Between with all those riffs just like constantly flowing throughout the entire thing. And so if you're looking for more of that, and I know that's a big part of As They Lay Dying for me, is just those classic sounding riffs that they bring to the table, you're going to get plenty of that. You've also got this great track, Shaped by Fire, the title track. Obviously, this one fuses a few more sort of modern approaches with a lot more kind of djent influence tied to their usual style, but still that just great sort of chugga chugga doodle doodle chugga chugga doodle doodle. The deep palm mutes alternated with those really high melodic passages. Great gang vocals on this track as well that get me super pumped, and they're actually scattered kind of throughout the album on other tracks like The Wreckage. And I'm just such a sucker for gang vocals in general. You put that on your album and I'm on board 100%. Catchy chorus too on this song and on almost every song. Everything that you're looking for As I Lay Dying, you can kind of find here. Also some really brutal lows in the harsh vocals. And I absolutely, again, on this particular song, love that it all sort of ends on that one note together and it's just over and out. It's a great way to just leave an impact with that track. Other heavier tracks on here too, like Redefined and Gatekeeper, especially that last one, is amongst the heaviest tracks on the album and maybe even the heaviest tracks that they've ever written, creeping kind of near death metal vocals at times. And there's even some kind of vaguely like Lamb of God sounding riffs on this thing too, which is something I'd also said about the new Killswitch Engage album. So I don't know what's in the water right now, but it seems like them and the Killswitch dudes just seem to be channeling kind of a similar place as they were writing their new albums for 2019. And then to top it all off, there's a very just like thrash metal solo on this thing that seems to come out of nowhere. And just in general, lots of solos on this album. So again, if you came here like I did, looking for a lot of awesome, catchy, intense guitar work, you came to the right place. You're not going to miss out in that department. And so yeah, overall, if you heard the singles, you kind of know what to expect from the full album, because while they kind of picked some of their best tracks for those singles, there's not a bad song on this album. It's pretty damn consistent. I enjoy it the whole way through. There's very little filler. It feels very tight. Now, in terms of giving it a rating on my scales, so I give it a 10 for enjoyability for those same reasons. Like, it's just very strong. I had a blast listening to it. I'm looking forward to spending a lot more time listening in it. I already pre-ordered a copy. In terms of musicianship, it's very strong, as usual. Like, the songs are written and performed extremely well. There's a decent amount of technicality. I can't really reach for a 10 on this one because I've definitely got a lot of other albums on my list that do a lot more than this album is doing. And speaking of which, my lowest rating for this album is in terms of innovation. I had to only give them kind of just a C average 7 for that. You're not going to hear really anything new. And for me, that's not a problem because, again, if you came just looking for the As They Lay Dying you know and love, that's exactly what you're going to get. But am I going to give them extra points for doing something new and courageous and brave and kind of furthering the genre? No. All of that averaging out to an 8.7 for a pretty strong B+, and that feels pretty fair for me. It's really enjoyable, but again, I don't think it's going to be on my best albums of the year. We'll just have to wait and see, but I feel like there are other bands out there kind of really getting more creative and just doing new and interesting things. And I always try to really highlight that when it comes to the end of the year. It's a great album. I highly encourage you to get it again, especially if you are a fan of As They Lay Dying already. And I'd honestly put it potentially in their top 3. Now, in terms of the lyrics, maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it, but it seems like it's talking a lot about kind of making mistakes and the ability to change. It seems like Tim is really tapping into some kind of obvious influences right now, given the trajectory that his life took in the past several years. And so he says a lot of things about, will we always be seen that way? Lots of lyrics in general regarding kind of transformation. On My Own Grave talks a lot about like there's no one else to blame, sort of accepting their role in what's happened and then facing what I've become. And on the closing track too, The Toll It Takes, he says, I can't change what I've done. There's a past I can't replace. I can't fix what I've broke. And all of this rings very true to me. Like, as somebody, especially who works in mental health with a lot of people who have made some very bad mistakes in their lives, I think it's important that we don't back people into a corner. We don't live in a society where you can't have the opportunity to become better, because if you don't have that opportunity, you won't. You're going to continue to stagnate and fall into the same problems that you have over and over again. Without getting into it too much, I'll just say only time will tell. Can Tim prove that he can be a better person and not make those same mistakes? But I believe in second chances for people who have kind of paid their penance. And hey, if he uses the music to kind of further positivity and further the field of mental health, I hear he's even trying to kind of get into social work, then hey, I say, great, awesome. I'm not going to get into some of the controversy and stuff. I touched on that a little bit, but if you really do want to hear my thoughts on that, there's this other podcast that I did where I talked about that in more detail with somebody who actually toured with Tim around the time that everything sort of went down. So yeah, consider checking that out. And then also, if you want to see my ranking list of all of their previous albums, you can check this video out as well. All that said, once more, again, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, because there's plenty more videos for you to enjoy, kind of across genres, from metalcore to death metal to black metal, whatever. There's the podcast. Follow us again on all social media. All this links down in the description. There's also a mailing list you can sign for where you can get a direct email from me every Friday, just keeping you updated on new stuff on metaltrenches.com. And again, consider joining us on Subscribestar or Patreon. Even just $1 a month makes a huge difference and helps me cover the overhead and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, stick around. But this is Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.